Expand your vocabulary with our Core 2000 Words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Indonesian ebook before it's gone. Most people who learn a foreign language learn it so that they can one day have real-life conversations with native speakers. When you start out learning and crack open your first textbook or listen to your first podcast, having a real conversation can feel like a fantasy. When everything about a language feels new, it can be overwhelming. But this couldn't be further from the truth. While it does take a significant amount of time and effort to become fluent, having a conversation might not be as far off as you think. In this video, we'll look at 3 ways you can boost your conversational skills and start talking to native speakers. Number 1. Find native speakers and practice with them. It's unlikely you live near a big group of native speakers to practice with. If you happen to be in a major or international city, your chances may be better. Check and see if your city has a general language exchange. Chances are there could be a native speaker there who is also trying to learn another language. Practicing in person with a native speaker is probably the most interesting option for honing your speaking skills. But if you can't find anyone where you live, the next best option is to look online. Luckily for language learners, the past 10 years or so have seen an explosion in online language exchange sites. On these websites, you can search for someone who is a native speaker of your target language and is also learning your native language. The idea behind a language exchange is that you communicate with them via video or text chat, and half of the time, they help you practice your target language, and for the other half, you help them practice theirs. Practicing via an online language exchange is a highly effective way to practice your conversational skills. Number 2. Work on pronunciation. Pronunciation is often an overlooked skill when it comes to learning a foreign language. Most people think of a good foreign accent as a luxury rather than a necessity. But what most people don't talk about is how having a good accent boosts your listening and comprehension skills. If you can hear a sound from a foreign language and know how to make it yourself, then you're more likely to understand native speakers when they talk at normal speed, and you're also more likely to remember any new words or phrases you come across. Having a good accent means that the language no longer sounds foreign. Instead, it sounds familiar, maybe even natural. So how do you go about perfecting your accent? The best way is to break down the language into its individual sounds. Make note of any sounds that are the same or similar to your native language and of those that are different. Of the sounds that are different, spend your time practicing the ones that you find the hardest to say correctly. After you're comfortable with the individual sounds, you can start linking together words and phrases. This is where accent practice starts to get really fun and interesting. Get your hands on some native speaker audio from a TV show, song, or podcast. Play the audio back and listen closely a few times. Take note of how words blend together in speech. Then, do your best to imitate what you hear, trying to match the speaker's emphasis and intonation. Our language learning program's playback feature is perfect for this. Record yourself and compare it to the original recording. Rinse and repeat until you're comfortable with the audio selection, and then move on to something more difficult. This is how you can break through the accent barrier and really start to make the language your own. Number 3. Learn phrases, not just individual words. Learning grammar and individual words is great, but it's not the only approach you should take if you want to speak fluently. In addition to your regular grammar and vocabulary, try learning whole phrases, even if you aren't totally sure how they work grammatically. Learn phrases that are specific to your needs. It's a good idea to learn phrases that are grouped around a certain setting or subject, such as simple greetings or introductions, questions for getting to know someone, or traveling comfortably. You can even learn filler phrases, which you can use so that you have something to say when, well, you don't know what to say. Learning phrases like this will help you become conversational faster. You may not understand what you're saying literally, but as long as you know the general meaning behind the phrase and know when to use it, you'll be able to talk like a native. Eventually, your knowledge of grammar and vocabulary should catch up with the phrases you know. Learning a new language should feel like an adventure. There will be plateaus and periods in your learning where it feels like you're hitting a wall, but being able to speak with native speakers and have real conversations will help you combat language fatigue. After all, talking to someone face-to-face in a foreign language is one of the main reasons we start learning in the first place. And for even more ways to gain conversation skills, check out our complete language learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Get tons of resources to have you speaking in your target language. And if you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye!
Halo. Halo. Hello. Okay, first one. Hello. Hello. We are saying this if we meet someone for the first time. Hello. Hello. Or you can say this on the telephone. Hello. Can I speak to... Selamat pagi. Selamat pagi. Good morning. Selamat pagi. Good morning. Selamat pagi. This is morning. Very, very good morning. Okay, the third one. Selamat sore. Selamat sore. Good afternoon. Selamat sore. Good afternoon. Selamat sore. Good afternoon. Selamat malam. Selamat malam. Good night. Selamat malam. Can you guess what it is? Yes, good night. Yeah, afternoon, good night. Selamat malam. Siapa nama kamu? Siapa nama kamu? What's your name? Siapa nama kamu? What's your name? Siapa nama kamu? What's your name? Saya Blanca. Saya Blanca. I'm Blanca. To answer the previous question, I would say, saya Blanca. My name is Blanca, or I'm Blanca. Saya Blanca. Siapa nama kamu? What's your name? Saya Mika. I'm Mika. Senang bertemu denganmu. Senang bertemu denganmu. Nice to meet you. Senang bertemu denganmu. Nice to meet you. Senang bertemu denganmu. Or you can say, senang bertemu dengan kamu. Senang bertemu denganmu. Senang bertemu denganmu. Did you get it? Apa kabar? Apa kabar? How are you? This is like universal. Apa kabar? How are you? Apa kabar? Saya baik, terima kasih. Dan kamu? Saya baik. Terima kasih. Dan kamu? I'm fine, thanks. And you? Saya baik, terima kasih. Dan kamu? I'm fine, thanks. And you? Saya baik, terima kasih. Dan kamu? Mohon. Mohon. Please. Mohon. Please. Mohon. Terima kasih. Terima kasih. Thank you. Terima kasih. Terima kasih. Did you get it? Terima kasih. Thank you. Sama-sama. Sama-sama. You're welcome. Okay, this next one is the answer to the previous phrase. Sama-sama. You're welcome. Sama-sama. You're welcome. So if people say terima kasih, you can say sama-sama. Iya. Iya. Yes. Iya means yes. Iya. So you can answer this if you're agreeing with something or you want to say yes. Or just yeah. Iya. Or yeah. Yes. Tidak. Tidak. No. If you want to say you disagree or you don't like something, you don't want something, you can say tidak. No. Tidak. No. This is the very formal way to say no, but usually we say enggak. But that's like a casual, very casual and informal way of saying no. Tidak. Enggak. Baik. Baik. Okay. Baik. Okay. Baik. Okay. This words means good, but it can be used if you say okay. It's also okay to use okay in Indonesia because they also understand okay. But in a formal way, you say baik. Permisi. Permisi. Excuse me. Permisi. Excuse me. Permisi. So you can use this if you are visiting someone's house and you're knocking at the door and knock knock. Permisi. There's no one answering. Just keep saying permisi. Permisi until they came out. Saya minta maaf. Saya minta maaf. I'm sorry. 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 What did I do wrong? I don't know, but just say you're sorry. It works every phrase, every situation. Saya minta maaf. Jam berapa sekarang? Jam berapa sekarang? What time is it? Jam berapa sekarang? Can you guess what it means? Yeah, what time is it? Jam berapa sekarang? What time is it? I don't know. I don't have any watch. Di mana letak kamar kecil? Di mana letak kamar kecil? Where is the restroom? Di mana letak kamar kecil? I have to go. Di mana letak kamar kecil? Where is the restroom? Mohon tunggu sebentar. Mohon tunggu sebentar. Wait a moment. Mohon tunggu sebentar. Wait a moment. Mohon tunggu sebentar. Wait a moment. Toot toot. The line you're calling is busy. Mohon tunggu sebentar. Wait a moment, wait a moment. Mohon tunggu sebentar. It's always busy. Berapa harganya? Berapa harganya? How much is this? Berapa harganya? How much is this? You can use this if you are shopping in a small shop. Mbak, berapa harganya? And you can even bargain for it if they let you. Just try. Mbak, berapa? Miss, how much? Tolong. Tolong. Help. Tolong. Help. Tolong. Help. Help please. Mohon tolong saya. Sampai jumpa lagi. Sampai jumpa lagi. See you later. Sampai jumpa lagi. See you later. Sampai jumpa lagi. You can use this in the end of your meeting. Sampai jumpa lagi. Selamat tinggal. Goodbye. Selamat tinggal. This usually ends not very well because it means like you're not going to see each other again. Selamat tinggal. Goodbye. I don't like this. Saya tidak tahu. Saya tidak tahu. I don't know. Saya tidak tahu. I don't know. Saya tidak tahu. I don't know. So, yeah, if you were asked by someone about something and you definitely don't know, you should say this. Saya tidak tahu. I don't know. What's your hobby? Saya tidak tahu. I don't know. What do you know? Nah.
Halo semua, saya Vira. Tahun baru yang jatuh pada tanggal 1 Januari adalah hari yang menandai pergantian tahun Masehi di Indonesia. Sama dengan negara-negara lain, tahun baru di Indonesia juga dirayakan dengan berbagai cara. Dalam video kali ini, kita akan mengetahui berbagai cara orang merayakan tahun baru di Indonesia. Tahukah Anda berapa kali dalam semalam bangsa Indonesia melakukan hitung mundur menjelang tahun yang baru? Saya akan memberitahu Anda jawabannya di akhir pelajaran ini. Di malam menjelang pergantian tahun, orang Indonesia suka keluar dari rumah, memenuhi jalan, atau berkumpul di pusat keramaian. Ada juga yang suka berkonvoi. Kemacetan jalan sering tak terelakkan. Di Jakarta, jalan sekitar Bundaran Hotel Indonesia tidak lagi bisa dilewati kendaraan karena dipenuhi orang nongkrong. Pantai Ancol juga menjadi tempat favorit untuk menunggu detik pergantian tahun. Di Yogyakarta, Malioboro disukai sebagai tempat nongkrong sambil makan gudeg. Trompet laris manis di malam tahun baru. Begitu tahun berganti, suara trompet pun membahana. Sebagian masyarakat lainnya juga merayakan pergantian tahun dengan kegiatan spiritual. Mereka berkumpul di rumah bersama keluarga untuk berdoa. Umat Kristiani membuka tahun yang baru dengan ibadah di gereja. Pergantian tahun Masehi terutama penting bagi penganut agama Kristen. Sebagian keluarga memiliki kebiasaan untuk berkumpul bersama keluarga dan sanak saudara, makan dan berdoa bersama saat pergantian tahun. Keesokan harinya, tahun baru dibuka dengan misa atau kebaktian di gereja. Beragam paket acara tutup tahun juga ditawarkan oleh hotel-hotel atau tempat wisata dengan harga yang cukup merogoh kocek. Tapi keceriaan yang lebih hemat juga bisa ditemukan di lapangan kosong bersama sajian musik dangdut yang dibawakan organ tunggal dan seorang penyanyi wanita. Bersama organ tunggal ini, masyarakat berjoget dangdut sampai pagi hari sambil menikmati penganan khas malam hari semacam gorengan, kopi tubruk, dan wedang jahe yang disediakan para pedagang kaki lima. Selain Tahun Baru Masehi, negara Indonesia juga memperingati beberapa tahun baru lainnya secara nasional. Hal ini dikarenakan ada beberapa agama yang hidup di Indonesia dan agama-agama tersebut menganut kalender yang berbeda dari kalender Masehi. Nah, sekarang saya beritahu jawabannya ya. Tahukah Anda berapa kali dalam semalam bangsa Indonesia melakukan hitung mundur menjelang tahun yang baru? Jawabannya 3 kali. Indonesia memiliki 3 wilayah waktu yang berbeda. Jakarta, ibu kota negara, berada di wilayah waktu yang paling akhir memasuki tahun yang baru. Bagaimana? Apa Anda bisa menemukan hal baru yang menarik? Bagaimana dengan pergantian tahun di negara Anda? Ada yang mirip dengan yang dilakukan orang Indonesia? Silakan tinggalkan komentar Anda di indonesianpod101.com. Sampai jumpa di pelajaran berikutnya. Halo semua, saya Vira. Perayaan Natal atau Hari Kelahiran Yesus Kristus dirayakan hampir di seluruh bagian dunia tanggal 25 Desember. Begitu pula Indonesia. Tradisi pasang pohon Natal, menghias rumah, ziarah ke makam leluhur, saling mengunjungi keluarga adalah tradisi yang dilakukan semua umat Kristen di semua daerah di Indonesia. Dalam video kali ini, kita akan melihat penyambutan Natal secara besar-besaran di provinsi dengan mayoritas penduduk beragama Kristen. Berapa persen dari populasi Indonesia yang merayakan Natal? Saya akan memberitahu Anda jawabannya di akhir pelajaran ini. Selama bulan Desember, pemerintah Kota Manado, Sulawesi Utara, mengadakan safari Natal. Selama safari Natal, mereka mengunjungi ibadah di kota-kota yang berbeda untuk bersilaturahmi dengan masyarakat. Sebagai persiapan menjelang Natal, warga Manado juga melakukan pawai kota dan melakukan tradisi menjenguk kuburan keluarga. Kuburan keluarga dibersihkan dan dihias dengan lampu Natal. Kemeriahan Natal ini berakhir pada minggu pertama Januari dengan tradisi kunci tahun, yaitu pawai keliling kampung dengan mengenakan kostum-kostum lucu atau mengangkat tema sosial tertentu. Di Sulawesi Selatan, di Tanah Toraja, pemerintah daerahnya mengadakan Lovely December, sebuah festival budaya dan pariwisata tahunan. Acara dimulai sejak awal Desember, ditandai oleh pemotongan kerbau belang. Dalam rangkaian festival, terdapat pula karnaval, bazar Natal, kontes kerbau, pentas seni, pameran, kerajinan tangan, dan pameran kuliner. Festival ini mencapai puncaknya pada tanggal 26 Desember dengan arak-arakan yang disebut letoan. Letoan adalah kontes mengarak babi dengan simbol-simbol budaya suku Toraja. Di Kampung Tugu, sebuah area yang terletak di Jakarta, penduduk setempat melakukan rabo-rabo, yaitu tradisi warisan keturunan tentara Portugis yang menetap di Jakarta. Tidak persis di hari Natal, melainkan tepat di awal tahun. Penduduk akan berkunjung ke rumah-rumah sambil menyanyikan lagu-lagu dengan irama keroncong. Lagu-lagu yang dibawakan adalah lagu-lagu Natal. Yang unik, orang yang baru dikunjungi akan ikut berkunjung sambil bernyanyi ke rumah orang yang berikutnya. Mengirim hantaran merupakan tradisi orang Indonesia di saat mengadakan perayaan. Di waktu Idul Fitri, umat Islam biasa mengirim hantaran berupa ketupat kepada tetangga. Di waktu Natal, umat Kristen akan mengirim hantaran balasan yang berupa kue-kue kering. Nah, sekarang saya beritahu jawabannya ya. Berapa persen dari populasi Indonesia yang merayakan Natal? Jawabannya, hampir 10% populasi Indonesia beragama Kristen. Jadi hanya beberapa tempat saja yang melakukan perayaan besar-besaran. Bagaimana? Apa Anda bisa menemukan hal baru yang menarik? Bagaimana tradisi merayakan Natal di tempat Anda berasal? Silakan tinggalkan komentar Anda di indonesianpod101.com. Sampai jumpa di pelajaran berikutnya. Halo semua, saya Vira. Setiap tahunnya di sekitar awal Februari, etnis Tionghoa di Indonesia merayakan Imlek. Perayaan Imlek syarat dengan tradisi. Akan tetapi, inti perayaannya adalah berdoa agar tahun yang datang membawa nasib baik yang berlimpah. Lama perayaan adalah 15 hari dan berakhir di hari ke-15 dengan Cap Gomeh. Dalam video kali ini, kita akan melihat bagaimana Imlek dirayakan di Indonesia. Warna merah identik dengan Imlek. Tahukah Anda warna-warna yang tidak diperbolehkan selama Imlek? Saya akan memberitahu Anda jawabannya di akhir pelajaran ini. Salah satu tradisi menjelang Imlek adalah membersihkan rumah dengan sempurna, yang berarti membuang kesialan tahun lalu. Pintu dan jendela dicat ulang, lalu ditempeli dengan kertas bertuliskan karakter Cina Fu, yang berarti keberuntungan. Baju baru yang berwarna merah dan sepatu baru sudah disiapkan untuk dikenakan pada hari Imlek. Rambut pun sudah dipotong. Semua ini untuk membuang kesialan. Patung dewa dan dewi dimandikan dengan air dan bunga 7 rupa yang bermakna menangkal keburukan. Di malam tahun baru, pintu dan jendela rumah dibuka agar keberuntungan masuk. Semua lampu dinyalakan agar kehidupan terang sepanjang tahun. Bisa juga doa didoakan di kelenteng bersama keluarga. Kelenteng-kelenteng dihiasi lampion. Kertas merah berisi doa digantung di langit-langit kelenteng. Di Semarang, Jawa Tengah, perayaan Imlek di kelenteng Sampokong ramai luar biasa. Bukan orang Tionghoa saja, tetapi wisatawan juga datang berbondong-bondong untuk menyaksikan rangkaian upacara. Segala jenis pedagang makanan pun berdatangan, menawarkan jajanan khas Semarang, seperti wedang ronde, tahu gimbal, dan lumpia. Perayaan Imlek penuh dengan simbol dan makna. Pertunjukan liong dan barongsai yang identik dengan Imlek bermakna kebahagiaan dan keberuntungan. Jumlah makanan yang disajikan selama Imlek juga merupakan lambang 12 Sio, yaitu harus terdiri dari 12 macam masakan dan 12 macam kue. Beberapa makanan yang lazim adalah syumi yang melambangkan panjang umur dan kemakmuran, lapis legit yang melambangkan rejeki berlapis-lapis, ikan melambangkan rejeki yang berlebih, makan bubur dilarang karena melambangkan kemiskinan. Singkawang, Kalimantan Barat, merayakan Imlek hari ke-15 dengan mengadakan parade tatung, yaitu orang yang menjadi perantara roh. Dalam perayaan itu, tatung yang dalam keadaan trans akan menusuk dirinya dengan benda tajam. Singkawang adalah satu-satunya di dunia yang masih menjalankan tradisi Cina tua ini. Nah, sekarang saya beritahu jawabannya ya. Warna merah identik dengan Imlek. Tahukah Anda warna-warna yang tidak diperbolehkan selama Imlek? Warna merah selain mendatangkan perasaan gembira dan optimis, juga dipercaya akan menakut-nakuti roh jahat. Akan tetapi, hitam dan putih dihindari karena hitam adalah pembawa nasib buruk, sedangkan warna putih adalah warna kematian. Bagaimana? Apa Anda bisa menemukan hal baru yang menarik? Apakah perayaan Imlek di daerah asal Anda sama dengan di Indonesia? Silahkan tinggalkan komentar Anda di indonesianpod101.com. Sampai jumpa di pelajaran berikutnya. Halo semua, saya Vira. Waisak adalah hari suci umat Buddha yang dirayakan setiap purnama di bulan Mei. Dalam perayaan Waisak, umat berkumpul untuk mendengarkan wejangan tentang cinta kasih terhadap sesama dan mendaraskan doa-doa. Dalam video kali ini, kita akan membahas urutan perayaan Waisak di Indonesia. Apakah Anda tahu apa nama candi Buddha terbesar di dunia? Saya akan memberitahu Anda jawabannya di akhir pelajaran ini. Waisak dirayakan sekali setahun, yaitu setiap bulan purnama di bulan Mei. Perayaan Waisak di Indonesia terpusat di Candi Borobudur dan menarik umat Buddha dan wisatawan dari dalam dan luar negeri. Menjelang Waisak, di pelataran candi dilakukan bakti sosial dan pengobatan gratis. Keesokan harinya, para biksu melakukan prosesi pindah patah, yaitu berjalan sambil menerima derma dari umat. Prosesi berikut adalah berjalan membawa obor Waisak, air suci, dan simbol-simbol Buddha yang sebelumnya disimpan di Candi Mendut ke altar utama di halaman Candi Borobudur. Dari Candi Mendut, para biksu berjalan bersama umat sambil mengarak persembahan berupa sayur mayur dan buah-buahan. Di Candi Borobudur, para biksu dan umat melakukan ritual pradaksina, yaitu mengelilingi candi searah jarum jam sebanyak 3 kali. Ritual ini merupakan puncak penghormatan tertinggi kepada Sang Buddha. Seusai pradaksina, dilepaskanlah 1000 lampion ke angkasa. Wisatawan yang hadir juga dapat menerbangkan lampion dengan membayar sumbangan sebesar 100.000 per lampion. Pelepasan lampion bermakna membawa doa dan harapan umat ke angkasa, sekaligus menjadi simbol pelepasan amarah, iri dengki, dan hawa nafsu dalam diri. Pelepasan lampion menutup rangkaian perayaan Waisak di Indonesia. Walaupun sering dikenal sebagai hari kelahiran Sang Buddha, Waisak sesungguhnya memperingati kelahiran sekaligus pencerahan dan wafat Sang Buddha. Nah, sekarang saya beritahu jawabannya ya. Apakah Anda tahu apa nama candi Buddha terbesar di dunia? Candi Borobudur adalah candi Buddha terbesar di dunia. Candi Borobudur kini terdaftar sebagai salah satu situs warisan budaya dunia yang dilindungi oleh UNESCO. Bagaimana? Apa Anda bisa menemukan hal baru yang menarik? Adakah tradisi perayaan Waisak lain yang Anda ketahui? Silahkan tinggalkan komentar Anda di indonesianpod101.com. Sampai jumpa di pelajaran berikutnya. Halo semua, saya Vira. Bulan puasa adalah bulan yang ditunggu-tunggu oleh umat muslim di Indonesia. Dalam bulan ini, umat muslim berpuasa sebulan penuh, menahan lapar dan haus, hawa nafsu, dan godaan selama 30 hari sebelum mencapai kemenangan di hari Idul Fitri. Dalam video kali ini, kita akan membicarakan tradisi apa saja yang dilakukan orang Indonesia selama bulan puasa. Tahukah Anda waktu untuk mulai berpuasa dan berhenti berpuasa dalam sehari? Saya akan memberitahu Anda jawabannya di akhir pelajaran ini. Kebiasaan yang hanya muncul di bulan Ramadan adalah membangunkan orang waktu subuh untuk makan sebelum berpuasa, atau pendeknya sahur. Orang-orang akan berjalan ramai-ramai sambil memukul kentongan keliling perumahan untuk membangunkan warga dan meneriakkan sahur, sahur. Di kota besar, kebiasaan ini diganti berbicara melalui pengeras suara yang ada di masjid-masjid. Mengikuti nasihat Nabi untuk berbuka dengan yang manis, jajanan tradisional menjadi sajian yang populer selama bulan Ramadan. Pasar dan supermarket ramai-ramai menjual peganan ini. Terbuat dari tepung beras, gula merah, dan santan, dipadu dengan pisang, ubi, atau kacang-kacangan, jajanan tradisional memiliki rasa yang manis gurih. Bentuknya beragam dan warnanya bermacam-macam, mulai dari merah muda sampai hitam. Aromanya manis, yang berasal dari daun pandan. Jajanan tradisional ini menjadikan Ramadan dekat di hati semua orang Indonesia, baik Muslim maupun non-Muslim. Bukber atau buka bersama. Kata ini muncul sejak ada tradisi berbuka puasa bersama. Buka bersama biasanya dilakukan bukan dengan keluarga, tapi dengan teman sekantor, teman satu sekolah, teman satu kampus, atau teman sepermainan. Mirip seperti reuni, acara ini menjadi ajang kumpul-kumpul teman yang sudah lama tidak bertemu. Bukber bisa dilakukan di rumah makan atau di rumah seseorang. Kalau diadakan di rumah, bukber bisa diteruskan dengan ibadah tarawih. Ada dua aliran Islam yang besar yang hidup di Indonesia, yang memiliki perbedaan kriteria dalam perhitungan astronomis menentukan posisi bulan. Perbedaan perhitungan ini bisa menghasilkan perbedaan kapan jatuhnya di kalender Masehi hari pertama bulan Ramadan itu. Nah, sekarang saya beritahu jawabannya ya. Tahukah Anda waktu untuk mulai berpuasa dan berhenti berpuasa dalam sehari? Jawabannya, orang mulai berpuasa sebelum matahari terbit dan begitu matahari terbenam di waktu setempat. Jadi bagi orang yang sedang berpuasa di daerah subtropis yang mengalami musim panas, waktu puasanya bisa lebih panjang daripada orang yang tinggal di daerah tropis. Bagaimana? Apa Anda bisa menemukan hal baru yang menarik? Apakah negara Anda juga memiliki tradisi berpuasa? Silahkan tinggalkan komentar Anda di indonesianpod101.com. Sampai jumpa di pelajaran berikutnya.
Halo, nama saya Vira. Senang bertemu dengan Anda. Hi, I'm Vira. Nice to meet you. In this series, we're going to learn basic Indonesian expressions. It's super easy, and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to introduce yourself in Indonesian. But first, it is important to clarify the difference between formal and informal speech. Let's first see how Indonesian people introduce themselves in an informal situation. Halo, nama saya Vira. Hi, my name is Vira. Halo, nama saya Vira. Start by saying, halo, nama saya. Then, say your name. Nama saya Vira. Halo, nama saya Vira. And now, let's see the same sentence in formal speech. Selamat siang, nama saya Vira Lukito. Senang bertemu dengan Anda. My name is Vira Lukito. Nice to meet you. Selamat siang, nama saya Vira Lukito. Senang bertemu dengan Anda. So, what has changed from the previous introduction? Let's take a close look at this together. Halo is an informal way of saying hello in Indonesian. In formal situations, you want to use selamat siang in place for good afternoon. Nama saya Vira has not been changed. In both cases, nama saya means my name is. However, during a formal self-introduction, we also say our last name. So I said, Vira Lukito. For a formal situation, you might want to add, senang bertemu dengan Anda, which is the polite way to say, nice to meet you. One more time. The informal way to introduce yourself in Indonesian is, halo, nama saya Vira. The formal way to introduce yourself is, selamat siang, nama saya Vira Lukito. Senang bertemu dengan Anda. Now, it's time for Vira's insights. When you introduce yourself, it's a good habit to shake hands in Indonesia. If you use the correct sentence with Indonesian people, they are definitely going to be impressed. In the last lesson, we learned how to show gratitude to people by saying terima kasih. In this lesson, we learned some of the most common greetings used in Indonesia. Sudah siap? Are you ready? Mari kita mulai. So let's start. The most used informal greeting is halo. Halo. Halo means hi or hello. We use it when we meet. It is very casual, so we should only use this greeting with friends or family. If you need to greet someone in a formal situation, say selamat siang. Selamat siang. Literally, selamat siang means good day. We can use selamat siang only during the daytime, from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. During the afternoon, we say selamat sore. Selamat sore. Sore is Indonesian for afternoon, so selamat sore means good afternoon. This is used from about 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. During the night, we say selamat malam. Selamat malam. Malam is Indonesian for night. This is used from 6 p.m. to midnight. And finally, during the morning, we say selamat pagi. Selamat pagi. Pagi is Indonesian for morning. This is used in the morning until 11 a.m. These 4 greetings are used when we meet someone. But when we leave, we don't say them again. When we part in Indonesia, we say selamat tinggal. Selamat tinggal. Selamat tinggal means goodbye, and it is a formal expression. Finally, in Indonesian, we have an expression meaning see you that can be considered both formal and informal. Sampai jumpa. Sampai jumpa. Now, you can greet people in many different ways in Indonesian. Let's review them all again. When meeting in informal situations, we say halo. When meeting older people or someone we don't know, we say selamat pagi in the morning, selamat siang in the early afternoon, selamat sore in the evening, or selamat malam at night. When living in a formal situation, we say selamat tinggal. When living, no matter whether it's a formal or informal situation, sampai jumpa. It's easy, isn't it? Now it's time for Vira's insights. In formal situations, Indonesian people commonly greet each other by shaking hands and bowing the head slightly. On the other hand, if we meet someone we are very friendly with, we can just wave. In the last lesson, we learned the most common forms of greetings in Indonesian. Do you remember them? In this lesson, we're going to learn a very useful phrase. Do you speak English? If you find yourself in a situation where you need assistance in English, this phrase can be a lifesaver. And because you're asking it in Indonesian, you can be sure that everyone will understand what you're saying, even if their answer is no. Here's the informal way to say it. Kamu bisa berbahasa Inggris? Kamu bisa berbahasa Inggris? Kamu bisa berbahasa Inggris literally means you can speak English, but depending on the way you say it, you can turn it into a question. Kamu is the informal way to say you. The next word is the verb bisa, which means be able. Berbahasa is a verb. This word is made up of bahasa, which means language, and ber, which is a prefix. When ber is combined with the word stem bahasa, it means to talk or to speak. And you probably recognize Inggris to be English. To learn more about ber verbs like berbahasa, please look at our Absolute Beginner series on IndonesianPod101.com. You can find very detailed grammar lessons and resources there. We are now going to make this sentence formal. First, we have to use the word apakah, which roughly means tell me whether. Next, we need to use the formal version of you, which is Anda. And everything else stays the same. Apakah Anda bisa berbahasa Inggris? Apakah Anda bisa berbahasa Inggris? Adding permisi, excuse me, the sentence becomes even more polite. Permisi, apakah Anda bisa berbahasa Inggris? Permisi, apakah Anda bisa berbahasa Inggris? The responses you will receive could be one of these 3. Bisa, I can. Bisa, sedikit, a little. Sedikit. Maaf, saya tidak bisa. Sorry, I can't. Maaf, saya tidak bisa. Maaf is a polite way to say you're sorry. Saya is Indonesian for I. Since this last one is a negative statement, we need to say tidak, which means no, before the verb bisa. So, sorry, I can't is maaf, saya tidak bisa. Now it's time for Vira's insights. For those of you who are not only English speakers, you can obviously use this question with any language you need. Just substitute English with Italia for Italian, Rusia for Russian, Spanyol for Spanish, Jerman for German. In the last lesson, we learned some words used when apologizing in Indonesian, including permisi and maaf. In this lesson, we're going to learn numbers in Indonesian. Yes, numbers, nomor, from 1 to 10. And you're going to learn them in only 3 minutes, 3 menit. Are you ready? Let's start. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now repeat after me. I'll say the numbers and give you time to repeat each one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great job! What is before 1? Do you know? Nol. Nol. You don't have any more excuses. You can give your friends your cell phone number in Indonesian. Let's try together. We'll use the phrase nomor telepon saya, which means my phone number is nomor telepon saya. Nomor telepon saya 0815 1274 3968. Can you read it by yourself? 0815 1274 3968. Perfect! Now it's time for Vira's Insights. When you go to the bank in Indonesia, you sometimes have to stand in line with a number. When it's your turn to check out, they will scream nomor 1, nomor 10, and so on. Learn your numbers well so you can be ready. In the last lesson, we learned how to count in Indonesian. I hope you spend some time practicing the numbers, because they will come in handy in this lesson. We're going to learn how to go shopping in Indonesia. Before we go, you need to know how to say, how much is it? Ini berapa harganya? Ini berapa harganya? Are you ready to go shopping in Indonesia? Let's go! You see something you like and want to ask the shopkeeper how much it costs. The first thing to say is, permisi. Do you remember what that means? Excuse me. Permisi, ini berapa harganya? Permisi, ini berapa harganya? If you want to be more specific when asking how much is this and refer to a certain type of object, we need to put the noun in front of the question. For example, hat is topi. Permisi, topi ini berapa harganya? Excuse me, how much is this hat? Permisi, topi ini berapa harganya? And sandal is sendal. Permisi, sendal ini berapa harganya? Excuse me, how much are these sandals? Permisi, sendal ini berapa harganya? At this point, the shopkeeper can answer by saying, ini harganya, or yang ini, and then the price. For example, ini harganya Rp30.000, or yang ini Rp30.000. What number is 30.000? I'm not telling you. Okay, it's 30,000. It costs 30,000 rupiah. Now, it's time for Vira's Insights. A quick way to ask how much is berapa. For example, when you want a coffee or kopi at a coffee shop, you can ask the cashier, "Pesan kopi dong, berapa?" "One coffee please. How much is it?"
Hi everybody, my name is Blanca. Welcome to the 2000 Core Indonesian Words and Phrases video series. Each lesson will help you learn new words, practice, and review what you've learned. Okay, let's get started. First is peradangan, infection, peradangan, peradangan, infection, infeksi kulit, skin infection, infeksi kulit, flu, 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 musim flu, flu season, musim flu, trompet, trumpet, trompet, trompet, trumpet, trompet kuningan, brass trumpet, trompet kuningan, pintu keberangkatan, departure gate, pintu keberangkatan, pintu keberangkatan, departure gate, pintu keberangkatan nomor 43, departure gate 43, pintu keberangkatan nomor 43. Sosiologi, sociology, sosiologi, sosiologi, sociology, kajian sosiologi, study of sociology, kajian sosiologi, awak kabin, flight attendant, awak kabin, awak kabin, flight attendant, tolong panggil awak kabin, please call the flight attendant, tolong panggil awak kabin, kursi, seat, kursi, kursi, seat, kursi pesawat, airplane seat, kursi pesawat, ilmu kedokteran, medicine, ilmu kedokteran, ilmu kedokteran, medicine, bidang ilmu kedokteran, field of medicine, bidang ilmu kedokteran, kelas ekonomi, economy class. Kelas ekonomi. Kelas ekonomi. Economy class. Kursi kelas ekonomi. Economy class seats. Kursi kelas ekonomi. Penerbangan. Flight. Penerbangan. Penerbangan. Flight. Jadwal penerbangan. Flight timetable. Jadwal penerbangan. Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. First, you will hear a word or phrase in English. Respond in Indonesian, then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say infection? Peradangan. Peradangan. And how to say flu? Flu. Flu. What about trumpet? Trompet. Trompet. Do you remember how to say departure gate? Pintu keberangkatan. Pintu keberangkatan. Let's try sociology. Sosiologi. Sosiologi. What about flight attendant? Awak kabin. Awak kabin. Now let's see if you remember how to say seat. Kursi. Kursi. Another one. What about medicine? Ilmu kedokteran. Ilmu kedokteran. Do you remember how to say economy class? Kelas ekonomi. Kelas ekonomi. And finally, do you remember how to say flight? Penerbangan. Penerbangan. Well done! See you next time. Selamat tinggal!
When learning a new language, everyone should have an ultimate goal to work towards. Whether you want to be able to connect with a relative, easily order food while traveling, or go somewhere new, having an end goal for your learning can be very motivating. A popular but challenging goal is being able to speak like a native speaker. It's difficult to measure exactly when you reach this goal, and it's not something you can pick up using textbooks alone. So how do you work on making your speech more natural? That's what we're going to look at today. Here are 3 tips to help you practice talking like a native speaker. Number 1, focus on vocabulary. If your goal is to speak like a native, you might be really focused on speaking quickly or using as many complex grammar patterns as possible. But in our native languages, we're not always trying to speak as fast as possible, and we use complex grammar patterns when necessary, not to show off. Vocabulary, however, is extremely important to expressing ourselves naturally. Your choice of words can reveal a lot about you and your understanding of the language. Most learners have had the experience of using a phrasebook or a dictionary to find a word they want to use, trying the word in conversation, and getting a look of confusion from the native speaker. In some cases, although your word choice may be grammatically correct, the word may be inappropriate for the situation or totally unnatural. This is especially important in business and other formal situations, where the right level of formality and professionalism is key. Being able to understand nuances in vocabulary words can also help you understand relationships between people just by listening to the conversation. Try to listen to many different types of conversations. Listen to how people talk to their friends, their superiors, and in customer service situations. This will give you a better idea of how to talk to others naturally. In some languages, you can omit words from sentences or use more direct communication styles. It's important to be aware of these things so you can apply them yourself. Colloquialisms and slang are also commonly used in most languages. As this sort of vocabulary is always evolving, it can be difficult to keep up with the latest words. Talk with native speakers and consume media in your target language to make sure you pick up these kinds of expressions. Media is a great resource for your learning. Ultimately, knowing the appropriate vocabulary to use for each situation will really help you sound more knowledgeable. Number 2, perfect your accent. With every language, there are unique pronunciation and intonation challenges. Some languages are tonal languages, and a change in pitch can completely change the meaning of a word. Then there's the fact that most countries have multiple dialects, and so people from one area of the country may sound different from those in another. So what is the best way to listen to a wide range of accents and different pronunciations? Video and audio resources are a great way to do this. YouTube is a perfect place to start because people from all kinds of different backgrounds upload videos to the platform. You can watch educational videos, daily life vlogs, cooking shows, a travel series, whatever interests you. Pay attention to the different ways people speak. Everyone is unique. And then practice speaking like them. This kind of practice can help you sound more natural. One note, please be aware of the type of resources you're using. For example, if you find a video where a speaker uses a rare dialect, it might not be a good idea to use that for your pronunciation practice, unless you have a special reason for studying a specific accent. As a general rule, it's best to try to search for practice resources that use a standard form of the language you're studying. Number 3, copy what you hear. Do you remember how you learned to speak as a child? We rarely learned new words just listening to them, or reading after we learned how. When we were little kids, we imitated the sounds we heard by repeating the sounds out loud. While you're talking to a friend, watching videos, or listening to audio in your target language, you can do this to try and replicate the way they speak. Doing this will help you work on mastering the flow of the language, your accent, intonation, and pronunciation. Of course, you might also pick up some new vocabulary this way. Make sure to repeat new words often. It's a great way to make sure you remember them. Try doing this using a number of different mediums and sources. That way, you'll be exposed to the diversity that the language offers and master the fundamentals of pronunciation. For example, you can watch and imitate several different YouTube videos and audio CDs, but try a few different sources, like different creators or different audio types, to make sure you experience a wide range of communication in your target language. If you're using our language learning program, you can even get your own teacher with Premium Plus. Your teacher can answer questions, give assignments, and even listen to your recordings and give you advice on pronunciation. Completing these kinds of lessons with a native teacher can really boost your confidence in your speaking skills. Becoming able to speak like a native is a popular goal for many people learning a new language. It feels great to be able to communicate smoothly, especially when the people you're talking to expect basic level sentences or broken communication. Try using the tips we've shared in this video to work on improving your speaking skills. Of course, it'll take time and persistence, but the reward will be more natural communication. And for even more tips on speaking, check out our complete language learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Get tons of resources to have you speaking in your target language. And if you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye! Expand your vocabulary with our Core 2000 Words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Indonesian ebook before it's gone.